What's up, Magical Misfits? Drew here. Long time no see. So real quick before I get into what I actually want to talk about, let me kind of explain where I've been. It's been a couple months since I made a video. I believe the last one I made was in November. So at the end of November, the very end of November, we realized that one of our dogs something was really wrong. Well, long story short, on Yule, that evening, after all the festivities were finished, one of our dogs died. And there are a lot of bad things about that, but there are also a lot of good things about it. It was the first time in years, a few years anyway, that all of our family had been together, the whole family unit. And so we were all together with him when he passed, and we had our little funeral, and it was a whole thing. We're still not exactly sure, we'll never know exactly why. We do know something was wrong with his liver, but that's as far as we got with testing before it became apparent that it wasn't worth torturing the dog to try to figure it out. We did end up finding a large, quarter size, but it was a ball mass on kind of his rib cage there in the last few days, so he may have had cancer. We're not sure, but it was very sudden, very unexpected. He was at the low end of the age range as far as, when that breed of dog was expected to live. At any rate, I miss my dog. It's hard to talk about. So next is my own health issues. Nothing major, but since July, something was off. But I didn't really notice until October that something was definitely amiss. I go twice a year to the doctor for my thyroid. So when I went in January, we got it situated. But basically, I'm just severely iron deficient again. At least this time I'm not anemic, but I am back on iron, and I don't do great with iron. I am starting to feel a bit better. I think in a few weeks I'll be back to my normal self. So they like the number in your liver to be 50, and mine was 3. He even thought I might need blood transfusions. He wanted to make sure I wasn't anemic. We had to run extra tests. It was this whole thing. And if when I go back, I think it's 3 months, he wants me to be on the iron supplements. If when I go back I'm still severely anemic, I have to go to a blood specialist, but I'm already starting to feel like that's not the case. So anyway, I'm trying to get things that had kind of gotten shoved to the side brought up to speed in my regular life. Well, in my business, in my household, in my spiritual practice, in everything, really. Social media, everything. Because I was just super low energy, and I was only doing the bare minimum of anything. So, between these two things, making videos for my channel was not really my top priority. But as you can tell, I have not abandoned the channel yet. No, I've realized I've had some very interesting conversations with a friend of mine as of late that have helped me come into a deeper understanding of myself and my current path. And then I've had some other things happening that have really shifted some things, knocked some things loose for me. So I've come to a deeper understanding of why I've been struggling with content for this channel, which I'll get into. First, I know Dana and Trish have already given shout outs to Erika Farmer Tarot on their channels, but I'm about to give another one. So I typically get multiple readings from Erika each year, but I definitely get one every single year without fail, and that is kind of a year ahead spread. I love this reading. I love any reading with Erika. If you by chance are looking for a reader and you don't have one, or you just want to try somebody new or whatever, I highly recommend Erika Farmer Tarot. I will of course leave a link, but just a little advertisement for her. I adore her. The thing that I love the most, I think, about her reading style is that she's both really highly educated and practiced in tarot, but she's also highly intuitive. So there's this nice blending of these two ways of reading. I believe she got her first deck when she was 13, which means she's been reading for over 30 years. She's not only done extensive studying and learning and practicing and whatnot on her own, she's taken outside accredited courses. But as I said, She also is a very intuitive person, and she blends that into it. So I don't know, it's just this beautiful mesh as far as I'm concerned. And I always love my readings with her. This is pertinent because I got a reading with her at the beginning of the year, my year ahead spread. And just before that, I had done my own reading. I have 2 oracle decks that are associated with Aset, and I use those in conjunction to whenever I feel called to receive guidance and messages or whatever from us or anyone else who might be hanging out, because like, yeah, there's a whole thing. Anyway, other Egyptian deity have made themselves known to me, but back to the point at hand. Between these 2 readings in particular, I got a lot of guidance and direction about what it was I needed to be doing in this year. That being scrying, meditation, and energy work in particular. The energy work piece being a lot about embracing, channeling, working with whatever divine feminine goddess energies, as well as a balance between the all masculine and feminine, between right brain, left brain, between just balance in general, being balanced. I thought, okay, I had already been receiving some of this guidance and decided to go one way with it. I was leaning into Reiki at the end of last year, but that just wasn't, it didn't seem to be getting me where I needed to go. It didn't seem to be getting me anywhere. That's just the short of it, really. So this time there were specific things said that like Kundalini came up, for example. Whatever was said and how it was said, I think with my reading on my own in particular, this idea of working with Kundalini energy came up, and it's something that I've done in the past. And of course, for me, that's like, oh, okay, chakras. This is a system that I'm very comfortable in. I'm familiar with. I've worked with before pretty extensively in the beginning of my spiritual journey. So it's a natural place for me to go. So I decided to work specifically within that sort of system as far as working with energy and bringing about balance and whatnot. And the place I decided to start, I'm reading a book I've had forever on Kundalini. I'm kind of rereading it. I've never read all the way through the whole thing before, but I'm trying to do that this time. Something that was written in there sparked the idea that the chakra that I wanted to start working on would be my solar plexus. And that's where I would start. And then I would kind of go through all of them just to build this strong foundation of self and courage and structure and strength and, whatever. And so that's what I have been doing. I have been meditating at least twice a week. So doing a Kundalini breath work / visualization exercise, and then doing a solar plexus meditation, and then other stuff as needed and wanted in there. But specifically, at least those 2 things, along with scrying once a week. And this all sounds very random. I swear it's pertinent, and I'm getting there. So the last time I did my Kundalini exercise, you do this breath work, and then the light moves up the chakra system. And I was just doing the normal thing, and suddenly when it got to my solar plexus, everything became very clear. It was very instantaneous, but I was suddenly in the seat of fear, because any of you who have been on this journey with me any length of time, you know that my path was very, like, the way that it started was very sort of, I called it shamanic in nature, right? And I have reasons for thinking that, like, my great grandfather on one side is Native American, and my grandfather on another side is Native American, is a native. And so it wasn't like foreign, the idea that this, like, it just felt comfortable, it felt natural. And anything that I studied about the experiences, the mystical experience that I had, the very physical and mystical experience that I had, led me to believe that my path was a very shamanic path. And I still believe that. And this sort of awakening and experience led me into witchcraft and kind of maybe folk magic. I don't know. Lots of, again, if you watch my channel, you get an idea of what my magic looked like. Lots of herbs and candles. And my path has always been highly intuitive, but I do look to outside sources to either validate or to educate me, and help shape who I am and where I'm going, right? So my path was this one thing. And then all of a sudden, a goddess appeared. Again, if you've been hanging around, you know this. A set appeared and just totally knocked me on my butt again for the second time. And I'm like, this is nothing like what I used to be. But I knew by that point that, you just surrender and you roll with it. You just roll with it. And so I did my best to do that. It was very bizarre and uncomfortable, but I rolled with it. And it quickly became a huge blessing and a wonderful thing. And, like, I can't, I'm just, yeah. I couldn't be happier, right, with the whole situation. But I still kind of held logically, consciously, intellectually this idea that the final outcome would probably be some amalgamation of the two, which still may be true, but I was sitting in this very comfortable spot with the whole thing. Like, I'm still me, all of this is still, and even the language that is used a lot of times when I'm receiving these messages, these guidance from cards or whatnot, scrying, whatnot, is sort of this idea of reclaiming parts of myself that I have accumulated in what I would call alternative lifetimes, people, past lifetimes, whatever, and pulling all that into the current lifetime and having a final product, or you know what I mean, a bigger, it's like an amalgamation. It's like, a pinch of this, a dash of that, and we've got a new thing. It's kind of the premise, the theme behind the whole thing, I guess. And so that actually put it into perspective. Early last year, I was like, oh, okay. So that's why this first part of my journey was so very jarringly different from this part of my journey, because I'm reclaiming things, and calling back these bits and pieces of me and from these very different experiences and whatnot. Obviously, if you don't believe in alternative lifetimes, none of this makes sense, and it sounds like horse pucky to you, and that's fine. It's not for you. It's for me. Anyway, the thing with the solar plexus, the fear, the reason I felt that so deeply and so strongly, and it was so pervasive and upsetting in that moment, was this just deep knowing in every fiber of my being suddenly that nothing is ever going to be the same again. And what I was, I am not that anymore. And I'm moving into something that is so completely foreign to what that was that you wouldn't even recognize the two, right? Like, it's like, how did that? And that was very upsetting for me, because I love my prior path and my prior magic. Like, oh, it's so meaty and fun, and I already knew that my magic was changing drastically, but I think I was reluctant to admit that there might not be any going back. There might, I don't know that. I don't know what the end of the journey looks like, obviously, but in that moment, I genuinely felt like, no, you're done with that. You're done. And it was so upsetting. Fortunately, this is a guided meditation I'm doing. So very quickly, the energy moved into the heart chakra, which immediately I was like, oh, no, it's cool. You're good. You're just going to love yourself as you move through this process, and it's for the highest good. And it's okay. Like, you did that. It was wonderful. And now you're going to do something else that's wonderful. It's all good. And so I was okay. I was able to not sit in that fear and that upset, and, but it just kind of blew my brain box open, and I started to understand a lot of things. Because like in that moment when I'm sitting in that solar plexus, like all these flashes through my mind, my business, this stuff behind me, like I'm like, something that has been such a huge part of my witchy identity and that I have deeply loved is no longer relevant. It was so upsetting. And I came out of that experience and chatted with my friend about it, and chatted with my husband about it, and I'm okay with it. It is upsetting, but like I can already, like, there were already shifts happening, and this was reflected in readings, and it was actually happening in real time in my business. But like I can see how there are going to be further shifts in my business. The only thing I know for sure that is translating from my magic before to my magic that I'm moving into, whatever that is I believe sigil magic, working with sigils and symbols, things like that. And it's not that herbs will never be a thing, but it'll be a very small collection of very specific herbs, at least for my own personal practice. Again, I'm not 100% sure where this is going with my business yet. That I think is going to be I think it's all a very slow rolling thing, really. I'm in this weird transitionary phase. I was so comfortable and enjoyed my path and practice so much, and like right now I'm just hanging in space and I don't know what's happening. And that's not a new thing. This has been happening since Aset came into, since 2019, but obviously 2020, oh gosh, so like it's such a reflection of the larger energies, as above so below. But like I have been in this weird transitory phase for at least the past 2 years. It's just become more clear to me how pervasive and deeply effective this whole thing is. And I think on some subconscious level, I knew. Again, this is why I've been struggling with content. I'm not doing a lot of super witchy things. I think I've done 2 spells in the past 2 years, and one was sigil work. I say 2 spells, but there were actually 3 spells of sigil work done at one time. It was social media magic. And then I've done the rewarding of the property. I did those little spell sticks with the cinnamon. That is it. That is all. That is all. And as I said, I don't know what my magic is going to end up looking like, but I can just, it's going to be totally different. And maybe it'll be ceremonial. I don't know. I don't know what's happening, but I just know it is not at all what it used to be. And so again, what am I supposed to do here? I said to my friend when we were chatting about it, I said, I just started a TikTok not so long ago, last year. And it's kind of a rehash of things from this channel, but obviously done in a very different way, right? So like I'm doing like my not so witchy favorites on there. I've done videos on that here, but like there, it's just one little video where I show the not, rather than just talking about it, right? Where I'm showing what the not so witchy favorite is, where I get it or whatever, how I use it, what have you. And I say how I use it, but it's more like how I used to use it. And so there's this little bit of like imposter syndrome happening. It's like I'm creating this content, and I'm struggling to create this content, and I'm in between. I don't even know who or what I am right now. Like truly, I am growing. I'm in a cocoon, right? Like I don't have this, I was this thing and I have no idea what I'm becoming. Like authenticity is hugely important to me. Like I am who I am. Like I don't know how to be anything else, and I don't want to be anything else. I mean, obviously I strive to become a better version of myself, but I mean, I have no desire to lie to anyone about what it is I'm doing or who, whatever. Like I don't care. I don't have the time to try to impress everyone or, whatever, fit in somebody's idea of what I should be or whatever. I don't care enough. But my authentic self is kind of nothing. It's not nothing, but, so I'm still kind of, again, like the TikTok, it's like, I feel a little weird about it because I am not technically doing these things that I'm presenting anymore. Now, they're not fake and they're not lies because they are things that I have experience with and that I used to do and used to use and that I know worked for me and, whatever. And like, I don't think it's a bad idea to share those, but I can't help the way I feel. And I think that's kind of the way with this, what I realized I'm struggling so hard to create content for my channel because my channel was so reflective of the Drew I was, the witch, pagany Drew I was, and I'm moving into this space that is so very not that. And it's just weird for me. Obviously, I'm not, it might be easier if I was already if I was there and then I could just present that new Drew here, but I'm not. And I'm just in this weird, I'm just hanging here growing, and I'm going through the growing pains. As I said, there's a little bit of this weird, I am not an imposter, but I can't help there's this little weird it's like, I know I'm not this thing, like I know this is changing, this is falling away, I'm becoming something else, but like, it's like, how much do I let go? It's my own internal struggles with letting that go, how that looks and how that happens, and then how do I present to the rest of the world in the meantime? Like, this channel is about us having a dialogue, if you will. It's one-sided unless you pop up in my comments, but it's been about me, sharing all of my things with, my magic, my whatever, my ideas, and I can still share my ideas and stuff, but I don't have any magic to share at the moment. For me right now, again, it's all, I'm scrying. What do I share with you about that? Maybe if I get some really awesome message, but it's just going to be for me anyway. I mean, I share if it seems like it might help other people, obviously, but a lot of stuff is very specific to my own path and practice at this moment. So there's this scrying, and then there's lots of meditation, and there's, working with my chakra system, my energy system, and like, my daily devotional. What do I give anybody from that? I do have a couple of, I still have really deep thoughts and conversations with friends, and I can talk about some of that stuff really easily on here, but I just came to the realization this is why I'm struggling so hard to create content for my channel, because my channel reflected who I was, and I'm transitioning from that into something unknown. And so how do you translate that into content? What does that look like? How do you even do that? Is it interesting or relevant? I don't know. So yeah, I'm in a really good place personally, and like in my own spiritual development and growth, and like I'm loving every minute of it. But like, again, I just don't know how to. It's so very, so very specific to my personal path, and I'm also entrenched in it. So it's not like I can look back and be like, this is the thing that I did. And like the first time I ever shared with you guys my journey through ancestral line healing with shadow work and Sith, like I had done that years before, and like I knew the process and the outcome, and I could share that with you in a succinct way. Like, this is not where I'm at, right? I'm in the middle of it, so sharing it it's messy and weird and a bit uncomfortable. So yeah, this is why I haven't been around. Like the unconscious underlying reasons why I have been struggling to make content for my channel. I do want to continue to make content, and as I said, that content may move into more kind of philosophical area. Not that I never made videos that were, just my thoughts about whatever, but I don't know that I have a whole lot else to share right now. But I will share what I can as I can, and I don't want to ditch this channel. It's just I'm having growing pains. I'm in the middle of, like I said, I am locked in a chrysalis, and until I emerge, I don't know. So I apologize to anyone who really enjoyed my prior content, but I just don't see that ever coming back, really. Not like that. But I think it's kind of exciting to see where it's going to go and what's going to happen. And if you want to hang around and check that out and figure it out with me, then I'm really grateful. And I guess thank you for supporting me until this point, whether you continue to or not. And until next time, much love and gratitude.